Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Untitled Chapter TV. We are here to talk about that game. That's what I'm calling it at the moment. Everton 2, Arsenal 1. So yeah, it's the time. We're not usually here on a Wednesday, but we thought that it would be good to have maybe a little bit extra time between that game and obviously us giving our opinions on it. Now the dust is settled, we've all calmed down a little bit more. So tonight, that's what we'll be doing. We'll be reviewing the defeat at Goodison Park on Monday night, with the scoreline being Everton 2, Arsenal 1. I'm joined tonight by my ever-present co-host. Lottie just come off camera, so we'll come back to Lottie. But Stephen, how are you doing, Stephen?
I'm good. I'm tired. I don't know how people do this going out to work 5 days a week thing. I'm used to sitting in front of my computer to work, and now actually having to get up and go out it's quite tiring. But yeah, no, do you know what? I've calmed down a lot since Monday night. Don't get me wrong, I still have an awful lot to say. I have a lot of issues with things. So I will have plenty to say tonight. But I'm looking forward to the show. And to be honest, I kind of get the feeling that you two guys have a lot to say. And I know Lottie, obviously, you'll speak to her in a sec, but I know she's maybe not feeling 100%, so might have a little bit less. But I'm kind of looking forward to a little bit of G-Rants Arsenal tonight. So much so that I have prepared myself. So anybody watching, and if you're watching this back later on, get yourself prepared. Hit that pause button. Go get the following items and get yourself prepared. So I have ready for tonight my liter of whiskey, couple of tins of Coke to water it down, and for whenever he goes, I'll tell you what it is, I've got my bag of popcorn at the ready. I'm looking forward to this. Let's go.
Let's go. And yes, I'm also joined by the lovely Lottie. How are you doing this evening, Lottie?
I'm all right. I've got a bit of a stinking cold. It's not COVID, thankfully, but I'm bloody drained after the last 3 games. This includes the ladies. I'm just like, I'm tired. I need some good stuff in my life right now. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I think between Arsenal and Boris Johnson and this government, I said, yeah, I'm pretty ticked off. Let's just leave it as that. But yeah, we've got a lot to get through this evening, as you probably guessed. So I'm gonna run the intro video.
Yeah, a whole leader to get through.
See you on the other side, guys.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing. The first time it's happened.
So yes, welcome back to Cannon Chatter. We've done our introductions and we're literally going to get right into it. We're here tonight to review that game, which was Everton 2, Arsenal 1. We've already got some people in the comments, so we'll just say a little hello. Good evening, Gamer DJ, and good evening, Keith. Right, so where do we start? Not a great feeling right now with regards to Arsenal. So I think what we'll do before we get into it is we will rewind time. We will go all the way back to Monday evening at about 7 p.m. when probably, well, I wouldn't say probably, the first surprise of the evening took place. The team news came out. Now, I know there were suspicions. I know, some people had predicted certain things, but hey, Arteta did what he did a lot last season, and he threw us what I can only call a curveball, and he named this team here. So we had Ramsdale in goal, to be expected. We had a back four of Tomiyasu, Gabriel, Ben White, and Tierney in for Tavares. We had a midfield two, you could call, of Partey and Xhaka. And then we had Odegaard playing in the number 10 role, kept his place, obviously, despite the 3-2 United defeat. scored a goal in that game. And then we had more or less a front three of Saka, Martinelli, and Laka. Big news being that Aubameyang was dropped. So, 7 p.m. on Monday evening, the team news came out. Stephen, let me know your thoughts.
Oh, where to start?
Right, guys, get your popcorn out. Here we go.
No, right. So seriously, team news comes out. I was happy to see KT back in. I've said on several shows now that much as Tavares has done well, Tierney for me is the better defender, and we all tout him as a future captain of the club. So for me, if he's fit, he needs to be playing. I know he didn't have the best start to the season. We sort of at times criticized him for his performances, but he still is, he's one of the few that's in this squad that has a winning mentality. Last season was, you could say last season was the first season he's had in his professional career where he's not won a trophy, although we did win the Community Shield. So technically, he did win a trophy, but, it's the first season he's had where he hasn't won a trophy, and that's a winner. He's a serial winner, so great to see him back in. In terms of the rest of the team, then the other three defenders and goalkeeper pick themselves. Although arguably Ben White didn't have a great game against United, and from all accounts, Holding has been stepping up his game in training. So there was a possibility, but I don't think we're going to see Ben White dropped. That's the thing. Aubameyang, I was surprised. I have to say, I was surprised that Arteta dropped him, but I was glad that he did. We all said it. He's missing too many chances. Good to see Martinelli still keeping his place and getting a bit of game time. Odegaard, arguably one of our better players against United. So it was good that he got to keep his place. And the biggest surprise for me was why Arteta only picked 10 players. And he threw in an empty shirt with a number 34 in the back of it in the middle of the park. I don't get it. I just genuinely don't get it. Why this man gets picked? Like, he's had 2 training sessions and he's straight back in the team. And I said to you guys, the team news came out, and we obviously have our WhatsApp group where we talk. And I said, as soon as this lineup came out, and Lottie had put a message up saying, "Oh, have you seen, who's back in the team?" I said straight away, we're going to lose tonight, and the Arteta out people will be out in force. And at this point, I don't know if I can, not join them with seeing him back in the team. I really just, it's so disappointing how he keeps getting back in the team. And I know there's people out there that love him and think he's wonderful and think he offers so much. I just don't see it. I do not see what he brings to this team. So, yeah, overall, the feeling was, I thought it was a squad that was capable of winning the game, albeit for me, we're a player short. But they should have been turning over that Everton team. The team that we put out should have been good enough to beat Everton. So, yeah, I mean, overall, all joking aside about 34, I was pretty okay with that team. I think it is the best way to sum it up. I was okay with it.
Cool. Lottie, thoughts with regards to the lineup?
Oh, after I messaged you guys about that, as Stephen just said, I put a tweet out. 34 returns after 30 seconds of training. Mike Dean's the referee. What could go wrong? And it did go wrong. You know what I mean? Team sheet was fine with me, apart from 34. Not his biggest fan. I did put some money on him to get carded, which was nice. So I made some money off it. It's a guaranteed bet, more or less, nowadays. So I got 35 quid in my pocket, which I was quite pleased about. But other than that, team sheet was just, it was fine. It was fine with me. I mean, I just weren't impressed that he's back. Although I was expecting him to be back towards the end of December, not now.
Yeah. Well, by all accounts, it's it was miles ahead of schedule. You know, in terms of what we're led to believe. In terms of obviously when he went out injured and the diagnosis. In terms of me, with regards to the lineup, oh boy, where do I start? The lineup came out, and to be honest, like, you know, I think the lineup, as we know, more or less picks itself in terms of most of the players. I can look at this lineup and I can say, you know what, I can understand the rationale behind the vast majority of this selection. You know, Ramsdale in goal, Tomiyasu, Gabriel, Ben White, Tierney coming back in makes sense. I think Tavares has done a great job, but I think we've lost sight of his role. And I think as good as he's done, Tierney is our number one. So for me, he should start. I know some people feel it was a bit unfair to drop Tavares, but I don't think it is. I think Tavares was under no illusion what his role was, you know, when he signed for Arsenal. So I think Tierney coming back in made sense. Maybe 1 or 2 games too late for me, but it made sense. Partey in midfield, not based on performance, but based on probably ability and reputation, he has to start because he is by far our best option in midfield, despite his poor performances. Odegaard, he made the mistake against United with the penalty, but he scored a goal, had a half-decent game against United. Saka, well, you know, he's not had the great season, but I can understand him playing on the right. Martinelli probably deserved to come in, and Laka obviously came in as we dropped Aubameyang. But in all honesty, I've been sitting here kind of reflecting on this decision to bring Xhaka back into the team, and I've not tweeted anything about it really. I haven't really kind of like singled out the actual selection, but I honestly want somebody to explain to me what on earth is Arteta thinking, because right now I haven't got a clue what this man is actually doing in terms of picking Xhaka for this game. The man's been out injured for X amount of months, and you've got Sambi, who's been signed, who's done a fantastic job in the midfield area. You've got El Nene, who you selected against United, but then you just dropped against Everton. You've got Ainsley Maitland-Niles that you brought on for the odd game here and there, who's done practically well, and for me should be ahead of a player coming back from injury, having played no football. And you just put him straight back into the first 11. Like, it doesn't make any logical sense to me. It really doesn't. And I don't care, you know, if you got these Xhaka fanboys out there saying to me, oh, he's Arsenal's best midfielder, he's Swiss captain. I've heard it, yada, 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 yada. I've heard it all before. It just doesn't make logical sense, regardless if this is Aubameyang on form or Partey on form. The player has not played for X amount of months. So take away the biasness, whether you're Team Xhaka or not Team Xhaka. You bring him into a game, you know, where we're playing an out-of-form Everton side. We need 3 points because of that dismal performance against Man United. And what do you get? You get exactly what you asked for, which was nothing. So I just don't get it. I really don't get it. And at the beginning of the season, I've been very critical of Arteta throughout this season. And the last couple of games, I've said to myself, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it. I'm gonna wait until the end of the season. But I honestly want somebody of any kind of brain cell or common sense to tell me how on earth it makes sense or made sense to bring Xhaka back into this team, because it makes no logical sense to me. To be fair, the fact that he was picked, to be honest, I can't say he really had a bad game because they were all crap. So he was right. He was right at home, to be honest. But I just don't get it. I just don't get it. So yeah, I wasn't happy with the team news. And the tweet I put out was, I'm going to reserve judgment until the game's over. That's what I said. And that should have given people an inkling of how I felt, because I just honestly didn't get it. And I don't get what Arteta's doing in terms of his team selection. He was doing this all last season where you couldn't guess his lineup. We seem to get some form of consistency, and now all of a sudden he just brings Xhaka in just like that. you know, as Lottie said, 30 seconds of training, and he's back into the first team. Makes no sense to me. But hey, I'm no football expert.
I think the thing is, I mean, you're saying there, all of a sudden, he had a team that was doing well. It was a fairly consistent team, and he was maybe changing at most one player.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, the last few games, he's back to this chopping and changing, not seeming to know what his best 11 is.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. You know, we need a settled team.
Yeah.
And constantly changing it's counterproductive. And I get at the minute I understand during December there has to be a little bit more rotation because there's so many games. I mean, I said the other day there's 9 games in 31 days, so there has to be an allowance for a little bit of rotation.
Yeah.
But it just seems to be now the last few games that it's been more than one player. It's, you know, I think there was 4 or 5 changes.
Yeah.
The other night, which is too many at this point. It's too many, especially when we're trying to build a settled side. But yeah, you're absolutely right in everything you say. You know, I don't know anybody. Well, there will be people out there, and you know exactly the reasons.
Twitter will find some, believe you.
Yeah,
me.
you know exactly the reasons you'll get as to why 34 should be picked. But they're all wrong, quite frankly. They're all wrong.
Yeah.
Well, we tend to drop more points when he plays anyway. So
Well, we do.
You can't argue with me on that. That's just fact. We drop more points when he plays.
Interesting point here. Gamer DJ says, obviously, Xhaka starting makes no sense to me, and no one I know can offer any logic. Were Everton so bad, it's like we could field him. Even so, and that's the only thing I could potentially think is that Arteta looked at Everton and thought, you know what, 16th, they've not won a game. Imagine not won a game in 8 games. When I say it, it just makes me feel sick. Not won a game in 8 games, and he just probably thought, well, you know what, maybe it's one of those games where I could kind of just, because we all know if he's fit, he's going to be part of Arteta's starting 11. We know that. So maybe he just thought it was one of those games where he could kind of transition him back into the side. But yeah, that backfired real quick.
With him, Damari Gray's always caused him problems. How has Arteta not learned this yet?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, so the team news obviously came out. None of us were best thrilled, but I think you two probably felt a bit more positive than I did. But yeah, you know, it wasn't great. I wasn't in the best mood when the team came out. So the game obviously started, and I don't know about you lot, but I could tell probably from the first couple of minutes that this wasn't going to be one of our performances that we were going to remember. I personally could kind of envision it from the first 5-10 minutes or so. And to be honest, we're not going to really talk about the game itself. We're going to talk about some pinpoint incidents. And then we're going to overall talk about the performance itself, because really and truly, talking about the performance is going to take so long that we don't even have time to go through all the disallowed goals, etc. But I think one positive to obviously come from the game itself, because we do like to try and be as positive as we can on this channel, is Odegaard scored. I can't even remember or tell you what minute it is, because quite honestly, I don't care. But it was a wonderful goal. It really, really was. In terms of what came before this goal and what came after it, this was literally a diamond in the rough. It was a fantastic goal. It was a brilliant pinpoint cross from KT down the left-hand side, and what a sublime finish. Now, obviously, the game wasn't great at this point, but that was a real thing of beauty. Lottie, I know you was at the game. Obviously, was you not at the game?
No, I was at home. I was in Manchester for United.
Oh, yes. I keep getting mixed up between the United and the Everton game.
I said to you, George went up there.
Yeah,
that's getting confused.
That's the one. That's the one. But yeah, obviously you watched the game, you know, and so forth. When this went in, like I said, it weren't great before, it weren't great after. But the actual goal itself, what did you make of the finish by Odegaard? 2-2 now.
I cannot. Do you know what? I'm going to kind of digress from Odegaard, but I have missed Kieran Tierney. I cannot describe how much I have missed that man on that pitch. I mean, I know he was off form before we were injured, but oh God, that cross was beautiful. I mean, and obviously the finish from Odegaard was brilliant. Set 2 goals in 2 games.
Yep.
So he's on a roll, and we need those goals, especially when our forwards don't want to put anything in the net. so to speak, even in the easiest options to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. We do need that. And I think that's something that I've definitely criticised him of. I think when we were looking at attacking midfielders in the summer, I really wanted us to bring in a midfielder that could get us goals. So I wasn't convinced by the signing. I'm still not convinced by him, but I'm glad that he is scoring goals, 2 in 2. We can't really ask for more there in terms of output. Stephen, what did you make of the goal?
So I'm going to be honest. I actually only seen the goal last night. I hadn't seen it because I said to you before the match when I seen the lineup, and I seen 34 in the team. I'm not even watching this. I just can't even be bothered. I recorded the game, and my wife turned it on sort of about 10 minutes into the second half. So I didn't actually see the first half. I didn't see any of the halftime analysis or anything. And then after the game, I just turned the TV off. I just thought I can't be bothered. So I only actually seen the goal last night. So it was kind of nice seeing it having just calmed down a bit again. Lovely finish. Showing his technique, showing his ability to get into the right place. And I think it's quite telling as well. You're saying obviously you wanted a goal scoring midfielder. It's his third this season. But if you look at it, we complained that we weren't getting any goals from midfield last year. All of a sudden now it's our midfielders are scoring and our forwards aren't. So if we could just get the forwards scoring as well, we might be all right. But it was a lovely finish, lovely technique. It really was. And I think for me, he was one of the only players that came out of that match on Monday night with any credit.
Yeah.
I think he had a good game overall, some lovely touches. I think he controlled a lot of the play. So, I think he was starting to take a bit of a hold on it. Yeah. And, if he's going to keep playing, I hope he continues to do that.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like I said, for me, it was awful before, it was awful after. But that was an absolutely brilliant goal. From the cross to the finish, it was absolutely sublime. It's just a shame, before and after weren't that great. Okay, so that's, for me, personally, I don't really have much more in terms of positives to take from the game. And I'm really not going to sit here and waste our time and the viewers' time talking about all the disallowed goals for Everton. And to be honest, I don't really want to go through the 2 goals of Everton. I just can't do it. But there is one incident.
Sorry, G, just before you go any further, you want to talk about positives. Can you just bring up that comment by Jamie that he's just put up? So it feels like the first time this week our fullback actually went past his opposite number. And his spacing behind Tavares, Tomiyasu, even Saka always stop the cut inside then or pass it backwards. That is a massive positive with having KT back. You'll notice Tavares, he's very good at going down, but he does like to cut inside. Before he tries to cross, he will always try to cut inside. And I said that before, that, there was one of the games, I think, where he had a little touch through when he was in, he was in the box. And I said that was the difference between him and Tierney, was that he likes to come inside into the box a bit more, whereas Tierney will take it down to the byline and cross it in, and he will stick out wide. And that's what we've really missed when Tierney's not been there, is somebody out wide to throw those crosses in. Because, and I've said this before, it's all well and good having Smith Rowe play out on the left, but Smith Rowe will naturally drift into the middle, which is okay when you've got Tierney coming down the left past him. Tavares doesn't do that, and it weakens that left-hand side, and it weakens the attack on that left-hand side. Not even the defence, but it weakens the attack on it. And if we're going to if you're not going to play Tierney in defence, then you need an out-and-out left winger. And that's what I said in January. We need an out-and-out left winger if we're not going to be playing Tierney in defence.
Yeah.
So, but it was a real positive, Tierney being back in, because he does offer that something different.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, in terms of the game itself, like I said, I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to mention. But for me, it just was pretty dire. So yeah, other than that goal itself, and that kind of incorporates the two, having Tierney back and obviously Odegaard putting it away, it was a real positive. But other than that, nothing really for me. Before we kind of obviously talk about the performance itself, generally, there is something that obviously we have to discuss, because VAR was very busy, very, very busy in this game. Obviously, we had 2 goals by Everton disallowed, and rightly so. Both were marginally offside from Richarlison. However, can't remember what minute it was in the game, but this happened. Now, we've been here before as Arsenal fans several times. Last season, it felt like we were talking about VAR more than we were actually talking about the games. Week in, week out, there was a controversial decision that just didn't go our way. Now, obviously, this happened. Godfrey, who is obviously the Everton player, some would say stamp, some would say accidentally stood on him. Whatever your take is, I'm not sure how you can't deem this as dangerous play. Now, VAR actually looked at this, and their decision was to play on and offer nothing. So not a red card, not a yellow card. It was just deemed a fair challenge. So who wants to go first with this one?
No, you don't want to go first, Lolly?
Stephen, go on, take it away.
All right. Well, firstly, just to highlight for you, it happened around about the 20th minute and 39 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, gee, you've actually got that on your picture.
Oh, have I?
Yeah.
Mate.
Do you know what? How this was not a sending off, I don't know. I've watched it back. As I say, I only watched the first half last night, and I rewind, and watch this back. He knows exactly what he's doing. He does. But what really gets me is, I don't know if you've seen the interview with Dermot Gallagher today on Sky.
No, I haven't.
So Dermot Gallagher has turned around and said that he wouldn't have sent them off either, because there's an element of doubt. And, you can't be 100% sure that there was intent there. So I'm like, well, hold on a wee sec. If there has to be 100% certainty of intent in a foul, there'd never be a foul given in any match ever in the world.
Yeah.
Because how can any referee say with 100% certainty that there was an intent to foul? There's always room for ambiguity on these things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that just was absolute mockery. He then turned around and said the reason that Mike Dean wasn't sent to the screen was because generally if VAR sends the referee to the screen, it's because they believe that, there's a reason for the referee to change his mind. So basically you're saying that Mike Dean wasn't sent to the screen because he's not capable of making his own opinion. So what's he doing refereeing Premier League football matches if he's not capable of making up his own mind? It's, it just stinks of, we've said it before that there's like some sort of conspiracy. It stinks. It really does. There is something higher up going on that we don't get these decisions. Like how that went against us. And in all honesty, I'm surprised the 2 goals were ruled offside because they were that close.
Yeah, same.
I'm genuinely surprised. I didn't like the fact that after the match, Richarlison put up a picture of him holding the match ball. And Everton, were saying, it was a hat-trick. No, it wasn't. He was offside for 2 goals, so he scored once. Give it a rest. But, VAR is just a joke. It really is. Mike Dean is a joke of a referee. We all know that. He shouldn't be allowed to referee matches. But the fact that, Dermot Gallagher, who is supposed to be a well-respected referee, is coming out and saying, well, you have to have 100% certainty or you can't give it. And you can't send the referee to the screen because it might influence his decision. That's just pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. And we've talked about this before, the standard of refereeing in this country. It's time something is done about it. It really is. You know, if I'm Arteta and that happened and there's not even a yellow card, I'd be standing there contemplating pulling the players off the pitch and saying, nah, we're not playing. This can't go on. And to be honest with you, he probably should have.
Yeah, it's true. It's a fair point.
We would have lost the game. We would have had to forfeit the match.
Yeah.
But I think the ramifications of it would have stood up, and it would have shown something has to be done about this, because it's an absolute disgrace.
Yeah, it's a really fair point. It's a fair point. Before I obviously give my opinion, Lottie, what did you make of this challenge?
Initially, I turned around. I actually tweeted this. It's actually on Twitter. It's still there. Initially, he turned around and said, "Well, this wasn't intentional. I would have given obviously it's not a red." And then I've sat there and thought about it. And if you look at the player profile of Godfrey, it's not. He's one of them players that you don't expect this sort of thing from. If that was 34, I think it was the other way around, that would have been a red all day long because of his reputation.
Yeah.
But I think because of Godfrey's reputation, it played a part in it. And that's why no card was given, because it's not in his character to do so. And look, it's some form of card as far as I'm concerned, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Lottie, I'm not having to go even to say this, but to make a decision based on something in someone's character, it's like, how many times have you heard people interviewed on the news after someone has killed their granny or something, something like that, and their neighbours have all gone, he just never struck me as the sort of person who would do that. He just came across as a lovely fella. You just wouldn't think he would murder his granny. Just because someone has a good character, it doesn't take away the fact that they committed the crime. So good character or not, it was a foul. Yeah. He should have been carded. He should have been off.
Yeah. You know what it is for me?
I'm not having to go at you, Lottie, when I'm saying
no,
that.
No, go at me. That's why I let you go first.
Yeah. You know what it is for me is when I watched it, and I've watched it a few times, I'm convinced he knew exactly what he was doing, but I just think he very much went about it very cleverly. But for me, I think whether you're certified it's a red card, whether you're on the fence and saying no, it's not a red because I can't see the intention. For me, I kind of get that to a certain extent, but it's for me, it's a dangerous play. So even if you're just looking at that and you're saying, it's pure accident, it still studs in somebody's face. And how you can deem that as not a foul, because that's basically what they've said. By viewing VAR and coming back and saying that's not even a yellow card, they're basically saying that that's not a foul. And I'm just thinking to myself, how is that not a foul? You know what I mean? Even if they'd came back and said, you know what, we can't see the intention, we think it might be an accident, so give him a yellow card based on dangerous play. I could even understand that to a certain extent. But how they've watched that and thought no action should be taken, it's just beyond me. Literally. And I still can't believe how VAR has been introduced into the Premier League and it's made things worse. I genuinely don't know how video footage can actually make Premier League officiating in this country worse. But for me, it's worse. And the reason why it's worse is because I can forgive a referee missing something in real time because we're all human beings. The game is fast-paced. You might be able to miss something. But the fact that we've got video footage of these incidents, you can slow them down, you can watch them repeatedly as many times as you want. Not just the referee on the pitch, but also a team of referees in the studio. And they've still looked at that and thought, even at best, that's a yellow card in dangerous play. I honestly don't get how they've looked at that and said, you know what? No, game on. You continue playing. nothing wrong there. It's just beyond me. And like you said, Stephen, VAR is an absolute joke. I do get what Lottie's saying in terms of the characteristic of a player. It doesn't make it right. I agree with you, Stephen. It doesn't make it right. But what we do know, and that's just from our own players, in that we've seen our players do challenges and they get red cards. And we've seen rival teams do the exact same challenge, different player, and it's not given as a red. So regardless of it being right or wrong, we know the officials do it. They do have bias in them, because you can see a red card for one team, you see the exact same thing for another side, and they officiate differently. And for me, that can only be based on either club bias or player bias. It's just madness. But I don't know, what world we're living in where that cannot be at least deemed minimum a yellow card. It's beyond me.
It's this, my issue with it. It's this statement of the intent. There was no intent in it. Well,
yeah.
People get sent off. 34 gets sent off against Man City for a bad foul. Did he intend to commit a bad foul? No.
Yeah.
He intended to try and make a tackle.
Stephen, I don't mean to be funny. We all know he doesn't learn. That is one of his signature things. You
No,
can't.
I'm
not having a go at you, but he doesn't learn.
No, I'm not defending him. I'm not defending him in any way. He should have been sent off, and I said that at the time. But the fact that what I'm saying is he didn't intend to foul. He intended to try and make the tackle to get the ball.
Yeah.
It was a bad tackle.
Yeah.
So, as Cal says there, intent isn't relevant. If you make a bad foul, it's still a foul. It doesn't matter whether it was intended or not. You can't just say, oh, well, do you know what? He didn't mean it, so let's just play on. You just get up there. Tommy Asu ends up with a cut chin. It was the same a couple of seasons ago when Vardy did a spinning roundhouse kick on the floor and, left his studs in Mustafi's head.
Yes.
Mustafi's running about the pitch with 4 stud marks in the side of his face.
Yeah. It's dangerous play.
And nothing was given.
Foul.
It was dangerous play. It doesn't matter whether he intended to do it or not. It was still dangerous.
Yeah.
And it was the same with Tommy Asu and Godfrey. And actually, Cal had put in there, he could have had 3 yellow cards outside of that. Yeah. He already should have been on a yellow card before that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very, very true.
So Mike Dean's just an absolute embarrassment. He is a joke of a referee. He should not be allowed. I've said it before about, it could possibly have been about Mike Dean, but I know I've said it about some of the refs, that they should be investigated for some of these decisions and some of the things they get away with. And it's not just us, it's very easy for us to sit here as Arsenal supporters and say we're victimised. We do seem to get a lot of it, but there's other teams out there. And I'm sure, if you watched other channels for other teams, they'd be sitting here saying the same thing. Oh, we didn't get the VAR decision. VAR has not worked. It needs to be scrapped. Or else,
100%.
Why is it working in other countries but not working here? It's the standard of the officials. They're not good enough.
Yeah, the system is only as good, as the people that use it.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'm sure I'll say this 100 times. For supposedly the greatest football league in the world, we have some of the worst referees. So 100%. Why they don't go out? They want the clubs to go out and spend money and bring in the cream of the talent from around the world to promote the Premier League. Why are the Premier League not going out and get the cream of the talent in the referees and bringing them over? Yeah. Because this can't go on. It really can't. And genuinely, I would 100% have backed Arteta if he had told the players to leave the pitch. I wouldn't have cared if we'd have lost the 3 points. I'd 100% backed him after that.
I think
and I would if it happens again.
Yeah, definitely. Did you want to say something, Lottie? No problem. So obviously, I don't know. I don't know if it's best to talk about the general kind of performance now. It probably is, because some of the other stuff I've got coming up is more kind of delving deeper into some of the issues or individual performances. So, well, obviously the game ended 2-1. We lost. it was a really, really poor performance. We're now dropping down the table. I believe Man United a point above us. Tottenham are 2 points ahead of us with a game in hand. So all of a sudden, off the back of 2 defeats, it's not looking as optimistic as it was all but a week and a half ago. But just generally, before we kind of delve into some of the other issues that obviously have arisen since the game, Lottie, I'll come to you first. Just your general thoughts, because I know you've been really active on Twitter. Some good, some obviously not so good in terms of your interactions. What did you actually make of just the overall performance against Everton?
Excuse my French, but it was absolutely piss poor. What else can I say about it? It was boring. I've got to be honest with you. Halfway through the second half, I started playing 8-ball pool on my phone. Literally, I haven't done that in years, and I'm sitting there playing games while the football's on. It's just something I don't normally do.
Yeah,
and it's just this decision after decision from each individual player, and I was just like, "What are you doing? They haven't won anything in this X amount of games, and you're letting them completely walk all over you." Yes, it was hailing up there, but the weather shouldn't affect how you play.
Mm.
You're meant to play in come wind, come rain, come snow. I mean, the only person who thrives in hell is KT, and we know that. And the rest of them, they're a bit of whip. They're like a bunch of wimps. But it's just, I don't know what was going on. I think it might be a case of Stephen said earlier, it was too many changes too fast, too quickly. And I really don't want to blame him, but with him coming on and Partey being off form, there's no midfield there. Absolutely no midfield at all. And Demarai Gray was let to run rings around them. Yeah. Absolute rings. I mean, if Everton had to rely on someone, it would be him to get a goal in the net with no DCL around. I know that because I've got him in my fantasy football team. So it is boring. It's piss poor and boring. That's all I can describe it as.
Cool. Obviously, Stephen, I'm going to come to you now with regards to performance, without going into too much detail about particular players or Arteta himself, because we're going to touch on those things. Just the kind of general performance itself. What did you make of it?
SH1T.
I didn't think of that. That's really good. I would use the exclamation mark instead.
It really was. It was poor. As Lottie said, it was boring. You said it during the first half on our WhatsApp group that you were going to turn it off and put a box set on. I didn't even watch the first half. I only watched it last night. I don't know. 34. He did the same thing. I don't know if we're going to touch more on him. Is he one of the players you're planning on talking about? Right, well then I'll mention him.
Yeah, go ahead.
He did what he always does. He stat padded by coming on and, passing sideways, and his only forward passes were all out to the left of Tierney. For me, arguably, he was at fault for both goals. The first one, he tracked back and then just stopped. He just stopped running back. Instead of making a tackle, he just, he seen Ben White coming out and he just decided, I'll just stop running now. And that's where I think it was Demarai Gray had the shot that hit the crossbar, and then obviously Richarlison heads it in. He was slow. He looked gassed out after about 25 minutes.
Not played for 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, he made a clumsy tackle. Arguably, he had to make the tackle where he got the yellow card. He had to make the tackle. The problem is he can't tackle. It's like watching Paul Scholes, only Paul Scholes could pass.
Yeah.
34 can't tackle, but he had to make that tackle, so you kind of got to let him away with that. But as soon as he got booked, he should have been hooked.
Yeah.
Because his biggest problem is once he gets booked, he's done. He's not in the game. And you seen that for the second goal. He ran at the player. He ran at Andre Gomez and then pulled up and went like this and jumped past him. allowing Andre Gomez to run on. You know, all he had to do was put his foot through the ball, and that attack was done. So, you know, things like that were just, it was just so poor. Substitutions at the wrong time. You know, he should have been brought off the pitch. But the performance overall, not good enough. It really wasn't. Missing chances, you know, Nketiah and Aubameyang both missing chances. It's just not good. It's not fun to watch at the minute. And even during the winning streak, but the unbeaten streak, it wasn't particularly great to watch.
Yep.
But I excused it because we were winning. You know, and I said before, you look back at George Graham days, we were winning 1-0, and the song was 1-0 to the Arsenal. But we didn't mind because we were winning 1-0. We went on to win a league title. You know, we're a million miles from winning a league title right now. And I know we're going to come on to Arteta and stuff, but it's easy to understand why so many people are turning. Yeah.
Well, for me, it was. If I'm completely honest, I wasn't surprised by the performance. You know, I've said from you know, and you guys can vouch. You know, from early on in the season, I've said, you know, that I'm not even talking about Arteta here right now. I've just not been convinced with the performances. There have been many games where I know some of us have even disagreed. You know, I can go back to the 2-1-0 wins against Norwich and Burnley that I thought we were very fortunate to get. The 2-2 draw at Palace. In my opinion, Brighton completely played us off the park. And there have been some dreadful performances, let alone the slappage we got from City, from Chelsea, from Brentford in the opening game of the season. For me, bar the Spurs 45, Villa and Leicester game, I've really not been impressed. For me, those games were the standout performances for me. So for me, this was just yet another poor performance. And I think what is so worrying is that after the United game, I think we were all looking for a response from the team. Like, there's no, you know, those players must have been gutted coming off that pitch against United, losing 3-2, because it was one of those games where it was a bit of a scrappy game. But had we played better, we could have got something from that game. We probably should have got something, but had we played better, we probably would have beat United. And then we think to ourselves, okay, we've got Everton, you know, 16th place, have not won a game in 8 games, not scoring, conceding all over the place, and we put in a performance like that. I think that's what was really worrying for me, was that we were playing a poor team, you know, riddled with injuries, completely off form, and that was the best performance we could put in. For me, that is a huge concern. And the other thing about it is, like you said, I tweeted and I said to you guys, I was bored. I was bored out of my mind watching that. The football is horrible. It's rubbish. Like, in all honesty, you know, I can't actually, you know, look at it and say, you know, kind of mix my words or try and pretty it up. The football is rubbish. It's that simple. It's not entertaining. We don't look like we're going to score a goal at all. And when we do score, it's a moment of brilliance, whether it be from ESR, whether it be, you know, a ricochet or an Odegaard goal. But it's dire to watch, and it's not entertaining. I'm not enjoying it. And when I watch Arsenal, I literally feel myself like, I do remember the days when I got so much enjoyment from watching Arsenal, and I just feel as though, yes, you know, those days are gone. Yes, you know, we've somewhat been spoiled with our previous success, but I just don't know. Like, for me, it's just not rocket science to put together, you know, better displays than what we're actually seeing at the moment. So for me, the performance was dreadful. The offensive play was practically non-existent. And just the general play from the players and the effort, the fight, you know, it just wasn't there. And, you know, given the fact that we just lost 3-2 at Old Trafford, I was expecting more. I was expecting a reaction. And even when we got to half time, I thought to myself, okay, you know, they're going to go in half time and Arteta's going to give them, you know, the hairdryer treatment and they'll come out and they'll perform. But if anything, it got worse. It was dreadful. It was. And there's no other word for that performance other than absolute rubbish. And I really, really am trying my best to not, you know, to do the whole Arteta out thing, because as you guys know, I've not been convinced by him. I'm not convinced by this team, and I'm really trying my best to not do that, because I don't think it helps. It doesn't necessarily make it help the situation regardless. I think it's important to support the lads, important to support him for as long as he's at the club. But yeah, a couple more performances like that, and I'm not sure how much patience I have with regards this manager. But yeah, generally a really poor performance from me, and I don't really know what else to say about it. But we're going to obviously go through some comments before we kind of delve a little bit deeper into just, you know, some of the other players and problems at Arsenal at the moment. And we'll go here. Actually, first we'll go to Antonio. Good evening, Antonio. How Mike Dean is still an official baffles me. Yeah, baffles all of us, I think.
I've been asking the question since the Diego Costa Koscielny incident.
Yeah,
at Chelsea.
It's just crazy. Like, I don't think any of these officials go for any form of performance management. I don't think the FA have any structure of performance management, because if they did, I honestly don't know why these guys are still officiating. Icewallow _come. Oh my God. He's just done that. You know, he's just done me on a live, innit? He's literally done me on a live. You know what? I'm not all right. I'm actually not all right. Yeah, I'm not all right about with you coming in your handle and coming on my show and spoiling the vibes, man. I'm not all right, mate. I can't believe he's done that, you know? I rate you, though. I rate you. You got me. Anyway, moving on swiftly. It was definitely a tough 48 hours, Sunday/Monday. Next, we've got Albert, JTV. Nice, Albert. Lottie, stop laughing. What a horror show at Goodison Park. Sorry to bleak, but things are not going to get better. What does not help is that some sections of our fan base are serial enablers when it comes to Arteta. And we're going to talk about Arteta a little bit later. Smash the like button, people. Thank you, Albert. Big up, Albert. Calvin here. The manner of the capitulation bothered me so much more than the United game, which I took some optimism from. Not just the players. I felt Arteta didn't react. 2 no goals due to VAR, and you change now. Okay. Antonio, need to get a consistent goal scorer come January. Cal, I'd be slightly fearful if we had DCL that the goals wouldn't be flowing as they should, but it is going in the right direction. Yes, Uber missed, but how many chances? Gary, hello G, Lottie, Stephen, hello Gary, hope you're well. Antonio G misses Wenger ball. We all do. Trust me, I do. Massively miss it. Chris, if Richarlison could have checked his run, we would basically have lost 4-1 to a side who got outplayed by Watford and were terrible against Brentford. Very, very good point. Gary, first thing I hear is G talking about, I won't repeat it. Yeah, don't repeat it. Don't repeat it whatsoever. I don't even, mate, I tell you, if I weren't live, boy. Anyway, Cal, you could have styled it out, G, respect. Next, haha, Aviv really cousin. Yeah, nah, I'm not too best pleased with that, if I'm honest. Anyway, it is what it is. Ben, it doesn't help the youngsters are carrying the senior pros. That should never happen. Obalaka and Nketiah Xhaka are not top 6 players. They have been removed from our squad for us to progress. And I don't know what that means. I'm not sure. Samantha Bates. I'm not sure what that means. VOY for your information. I'm not too sure. I don't know. Elaborate, please. Anyway, so we're going to move on. I think it was on Monday, a little bit earlier than the game itself. There was an interview with Thomas Partey. And he actually came out and had said that he was asked a question in terms of his performance at Arsenal so far since he'd been transferred to the club. And he actually gave himself a 4 out of 10. Now, Partey was probably one of the worst players on the pitch against Everton. I saw a stat that said he lost more duels, 9 out of 14, more than any other player on the pitch. We've got to have this conversation about Partey. It's a conversation I've actually tried to stay clear of because I really hate kind of singling out players. He's a player I really rated. I can't really blame Arsenal or the recruitment for bringing him in because I wanted us to sign him. I didn't argue at the fee because I thought he was, I class him as a world-class player. So what's gone wrong with Partey? And is this guy ever going to recapture the form he showed at Atletico Madrid? Lottie.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I do apologise. No, he's not wrong at all. He's been apart from maybe he finally got his goal, and that was about it. He doesn't exactly light up the world, does he? At the moment, I mean, for him to honestly come out and say and give himself a 4, good on him. He's honest, and he doesn't give all the BS like some of these other players do, thinking they're doing fine and they're really not. So, just he needs to step up. We need some more goals. I mean, Sambi needs to stop taking shooting lessons off him for a start because it's not working. I know Sambi needs to work on his end product, but he doesn't need to learn from Partey. Definitely not. Don't want that. But yeah, no, it's a 4 out of 10, and he's not working hard enough. Yes, he's been plagued by injuries, but he needs to step up as a senior player. He's been in the team long enough for it as well.
Stephen?
Firstly, you're absolutely right, Lottie, about the shooting lessons, but who do you suggest he gets shooting lessons from in that squad at the minute? Because none of them could hit a barn door, like, they really couldn't.
You have to teach himself.
Yeah.
Sorry, but if you look back at Sambi's stats, his goals are very minimal. He led Anderlecht, but his goals were minimal as a midfielder.
In terms of Partey giving himself a rating of 4, I have to say I think he was a little generous, to be honest, because I don't think he's been good enough to be a 4.
Yeah.
He's been such a letdown. He really has, and we excused it because he was coming back from injury and he kept getting wee knocks and being injured and then out of the team and wasn't getting a proper run of games. So we kind of excused the performances a little. But he's been in the side all season, pretty much. And he's done next to nothing. We talked him up in terms of a much quicker transition between attack and defence with him in there, that he moves the ball forward an awful lot quicker and a lot more progressive. But even that has slowed down again. And I think not having Pepe on the pitch hurts him, because Pepe's one that's always looking for space in behind. And that's where, Partey's looking for those balls, but he doesn't have them, so he's having to make the slow sideways passes and stuff like that, but he's just not cutting it for me. And he needs to raise his game, or else in the summer, sell him. Sell him.
Yeah, it's a tough one with Partey because, like I said, it's like it's such a difficult one because I can't argue with the signing. I can't argue with the signing. I don't think we can fault anybody at the club because the performances he was putting in at Atletico Madrid, the type of player we saw playing in the Champions Leagues and so forth, it made sense to me, bringing them to Arsenal. But for whatever reason it's just not worked. It's not working. And I just really hope that he can turn it around. But yeah, his performances have just been awful. Like, I think we were definitely looking at, signing a midfield general, someone who could dominate the midfield, who could beat a man, go up the pitch 10, 20 yards, pick out a pass. And we're just not seeing it. Like, I saw him, I'm seeing him missing 5-10 yard passes, being dispossessed, numerous occasions, but getting caught on the ball. His shooting, I really don't get it. I really don't get it. I know we were talking about him learning from other players, but like, you're a professional footballer. Like, if that's something that is really lacking in terms of your game, then you need to stay behind after training. You need to put in extra sessions. You need to fix that. Or personally, just don't shoot. Do you know what I mean? If you find yourself in a position where you want to shoot, pick a pass. And I'm all for encouraging players to shoot, because for many years we criticized Arsenal players not actually just trying to take a shot, but yeah, it's just not working in terms of his shooting. But he's been a massive disappointment, and it really kind of burns me to say that, because I didn't really want to get to that point where I'd kind of think to myself, you know what, I'm not sure if he's actually going to transition to the Premier League, and in all honesty, I'm not sure. Given his age, because I know he's no spring chicken. I think he's 28, 29. He's obviously played the vast majority of his football in La Liga, and La Liga is very different to the Premier League. I was having this conversation on the Arsenal _ show the other night. I think it was on Sunday, and they were talking about like just how different La Liga is, and some people, I think there was a comment or a question, and it was about questioning whether that's the issue. The pace of the Premier League being so different to La Liga is the reason why he's struggling. He just doesn't have that time on the ball. I personally feel like the Premier is different from La Liga, but I do think he has enough ability to transition from La Liga to the Premier League. At the same time, we know, great players, good players, world-class players, have struggled moving from one league to another. So it's one of those things where, like, obviously he hasn't found form. He should be off to African Cup of Nations, in not so near future. So yeah, it's a tough one. It really is a tough one. But I think, I rate Partey. However, if Partey doesn't find form, he's one of the players that we need to find form, probably along with Aubameyang and quite a few others. And if they don't find form, we're going to really, really struggle to even come close to that top six. Because for me, he is a top six player. He's one of the players in the Arsenal team that, he could challenge for a top six spot. He could challenge for a place in a top six team. However, on current form, he wouldn't get anywhere near some of those squads. So it is a real, real big issue. And I just hope that he can find form at some point, because, right now we desperately need him.
I do think it's telling that he had one of his worst performances of the season.
Yeah.
When with another player comes back into the team. 34, and I know, it may sound very biased because I don't rate him as a player, but he is slow. He turns like an oil tanker. And Partey is not a defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
And a lot of people thought we bought him as a defensive midfielder. He's not a defensive. He's a box-to-box player. But he's having to sit back when 34 is on the pitch. He's having to stay back and cover for him. And I don't think, I think he was trying to play further forward on Monday night. He was trying to get involved. But because he was so conscious of what was going on behind him, it affects his game. And I think you find that anytime he's playing with someone who's less mobile, and he knows he's going to have to get back to cover, it affects his game. He's been much better with Sambi next to him, because Sambi is a mobile defensive midfielder. He can have more confidence that Sambi's going to get across and make the tackles and cover the ground. That 34 is not. So I do think a large part of it is who he's playing with as well, and the players around him. He's one of those sort of players that he does need better quality around him to bring the best out in him. Yeah. So
right now he hasn't got that.
No.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, we'll go to some of the comments now. So next up, Gary, Partey gave himself a 4 rating, then said, "Hold my beer." Yeah, well, we didn't really put in a performance. Chris, when this overhyped world-beating player going to turn up? For me, he's been terrible. When he's not injured, he doesn't seem to affect the game in any way. Cal, it's not possible that a manager or other coach can mess up players, is it? I don't know. I know definitely some players, play better. I definitely feel as though players or just people in general can perform when they are managed or coached under different people. I don't necessarily feel that that's the issue with regards Partey. I wouldn't necessarily say the reason why he was playing so well at Atletico Madrid was because of Simeone. Me personally, I wouldn't say that, but I guess maybe some people would have that opinion. Do you think obviously the difference between being coached by Simeone and Arteta could be a reason why he's not playing so well at Arsenal?
I think when you're playing in Atletico Madrid and your midfield, you're playing alongside Saul Nunez. But, arguably he's not getting a game for Chelsea, but was when he was at Atletico a world-class midfielder.
Yeah.
The difference between playing with that and playing with 34, it's a massive downgrade.
Yeah.
The quality of players around him at Atletico was so much better.
Yeah, it's true. Very true. Lottie,
there is an argument for Arteta or whoever the coach should be, should affect things, but it also comes down to the quality of the players around you.
Yeah.
And do you know who said that? 34 himself. Came out and made a comment about the quality of the players around him. Unfortunately, he's one of the worst, but he's not wrong in that the quality of the players around certain players will make certain players better.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. Do you think there's any truth or any kind of reason to that, Lottie, with regards to the manager? Do you think that could be a reason why Partey's not playing well?
I've got a slight soft spot for Atletico Madrid, so I know what Partey can do. So in the irony of 34 saying that is just unbelievable. But he had a point. It's the players around him that made him look better than he actually is, I'm afraid. I mean, maybe Partey's at that point where he's sick of carrying 34. Has anybody thought of that? But he hasn't been playing for a couple of months, so I can't really say that.
Yeah, no problem. Gary, Lottie, all the back line besides KT is getting shooting training from Partey. Arteta's brother. Is he our Veron? Like I said, he won't be the first player in the Premier League to come with a massive reputation, big money, and not necessarily, fulfill his potential. Chris, if he thinks he's that bad, then why isn't he doing anything about it to improve? Does he just not have the confidence in those around him? Well, yeah, Stephen, you kind of said that. A lot of it could be to do with, the players he's got around him. I think he's massively now lacking in confidence. When I saw him, particularly watched him in the Everton game, he just looks an absolute shadow of the player that I watched in an Atletico Madrid shirt. Just completely different. And it was actually quite sad to watch, really, at times, because he just didn't look like the player I know he is. Just being dispossessed, misplacing passes, getting caught on the ball. Just doesn't look good whatsoever. Like, didn't stand out at all in that match for both Arsenal or even amongst the Everton players, which is not good for a player of his quality. Partey needs a number 9. He's going negative, sideways and backwards, and that's not his game. He can see a pass through midfield, others can't, but with lack of options in front of him, it's a struggle.
I'm sorry, but Ben's hit the nail on the head there. I think
but that goes back to what I said about having Pepe.
Yeah, because when Partey wants to release the ball, there's no real options for him to kind of release the ball. So it's almost like he ends up just with the ball at his feet, and what does he do with it, kind of thing?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
If you watch where Saka and Smith Rowe start their runs from, they're very far back. They're basically in our own half. Yeah, a lot of the time. So there isn't that space for him to pass the ball into. Whereas Pepe, arguably, an informed Pepe will see space in behind. Yeah. An informed Partey could put that ball into that space. Yeah. And allow Pepe to run onto it. Yeah. So having the two of them playing in tandem would be really good. Or a number 9 who can make those runs.
Yep. Gary says here, I believe I heard someone say that at the 60-minute mark when number 34 got tired, the game turned. Partey, like Uber, is asked too much and it takes away from their game, I think. Keith, think the Spanish league and our league are two different animals. I did say that on
We're the hardest league in the world.
Yeah, I did say that on the show on Sunday. Chris, he can't take the ball and step forward because he's probably thinking if he does, those lot behind can't handle it if the ball gets lost and he's out of position. Gary, it's been a long time since Partey has made that nice pass to Odegaard. Not sure I've seen him make that pass to anyone else. Right, so the next thing we're going to talk about, which is probably the most bleakest thing in terms of Arsenal right now, and right now there's not a lot to be positive about at the present moment. So instead of kind of talking about all these players individually, I thought I'd just make a bit of a collage. And I just literally took, all the kind of forward players that, as Arsenal fans, we kind of expect to get goals. Obviously, in the last couple of games, for whatever reason, haven't got goals, well, all season, really. And obviously the ones that are being benched. So, Aubameyang, as we know, literally right now, cannot find the net. Had an absolute sitter against United to make it 3-3, and I had an absolute sitter against Everton, having come off the bench on the 86th minute. Could have drew the game. We've got Eddie, who missed an absolute sitter in the Everton game as well. Lacazette was obviously brought in to replace Aubameyang, but really didn't offer much of a goal threat throughout the 90 minutes. And Pepe sitting on the bench in the last two games when we've needed a goal or we've been chasing the game. Arteta has decided to bring on Eddie instead of Pepe. Bit of context in that Eddie obviously is rejected, by all accounts, the most recent contract offer from Arsenal. Will probably leave the club in January, if not January, definitely in September. So yeah, dig into that and let me know your thoughts about Arsenal's misfiring strike force.
Go ahead, Lolly.
It's been 2.5 years and nothing's changed. What can I say? It's just got worse and worse and worse and worse. I mean, I just don't know how Eddie's still here. He should have been gone. And as for the other two, I mean, I'm humbly still eating my words from the hat-trick that Aubameyang scored. I'm forgetting it was only West Brom, Yeah. It's just, I don't know what I can say about this lot. I mean, that Everton game was screaming out for Smith Rowe, and it just shows you how much we rely on the kid. It's appalling. It really is. I don't know what else I can say about this lot. Even I can score some of the sitters they've missed this season.
Looking at these four players on this screen right now, Lottie, would you lose any sleep if we got rid of all four of them between now and next summer?
No. As long as we got some quality in, absolutely not. I know Lacazette's good around the club, but Lacazette is looking like to go. So, I really, because if as of January, he can now talk to other clubs.
Yeah.
Aubameyang doesn't want to be here. He's sitting on his big fat paycheck. He doesn't care. Don't know what's going on with Pepe. He's just such a hit and miss. And as I said, Eddie shouldn't be here. I don't see the point of Eddie. Sorry.
Yeah. Stephen, give me your thoughts on these four. This quartet.
Laka, I'm all right with Laka. Lacazette, he tries. He's never been the forward we thought we were getting, but he tries, and he still tries now.
Yeah.
The fact that he wants to leave, again, I don't really have an issue with the fact that he wants to leave. He's in the twilight of his career. He wants to be first choice striker. He's not going to get that at Arsenal. So I'm okay with it. He's probably the best of what we have when it comes to playing with younger players.
Yeah.
He provides more than anybody else. Nketiah, I don't get it. I just don't get why Arteta has brought in Kelly on. He doesn't want to be at the club. He said, he's rejecting the contract. And arguably, we're only offering him the contract so that we can sell him and try and get some money.
Yeah.
I don't think we're really offering him a contract because we think he's the long-term future of our striking, options. So I think he probably knows that. But he's just not good.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He's just not good. And the fact that even in the first half, you seen when, I think who it was Martinelli went down, potentially in the first half.
Yeah.
Or no, Saka went down, in the first half with a knock. And he sent Nketiah out to warm up. You're just sort of going, why? Why are you contemplating bringing on Eddie Nketiah, a player who has no interest in progressing his career at this club, when you have Nicolas Pepe, who needs some minutes on the pitch, sitting on the bench, doing nothing? I just don't get what the issue is. I've said before, it's known that Arteta has spent a lot of time with Pepe individually in training, trying to improve his form. But I understand the need to show what you can do in training, but training and being on the pitch are two different things. Being in a match environment is completely different. It's the same, you talk about players coming back from injury. Training is a completely different environment than match practice. Being match fit is completely different from being fit. So, and it's the same thing with actually playing football and having that confidence. There's a difference between doing something in training and doing it on a match pitch. He needs to get on the pitch. He needs some minutes. And why we're bringing on Eddie Nketiah, who is just not a good player. He's not good enough standard to be at Arsenal. And we've said this before. Why they're bringing Eddie Nketiah, or Arteta's bringing Eddie Nketiah on, I just don't get it. And then that leaves Aubameyang. I've seen a lot of people saying, that the system we play doesn't suit Aubameyang. Gary there, and Gary, I love you, and I respect everything you have to say. But this sort of argument being asked to do too much, and I've said it myself that maybe the captaincy weighs too heavy on him. But at the same time, you take that aside, he's supposed to be a world-class striker, or certainly a world-class finisher.
He's missing sitters.
And he can't finish his dinner. Saying that the system doesn't suit him and we're not creating the chances for him. I'm not a great one for stats and all these silly made-up stats like XG and, pre-assists and nonsense like that. I'm not even a big fan of assists, to be honest. But, if you want to argue XG, Aubameyang has the highest XG of any player in the Premier League outside of anybody that plays for Liverpool. So only a couple of players at Liverpool have a higher XG than Aubameyang. So it's not that we're not creating chances for him, it's he's not putting them in the back of the net.
Yeah.
And a world-class finisher shouldn't need a dozen chances. Ian Wright didn't get a dozen chances a game. But he put an awful lot of them in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Thierry Henry probably got more chances per game than most because of the team he was playing with. But he also put them in the back of the net. Aubameyang used to put them in the back of the net. The fact is he's getting the chances and he's not putting them in the back of the net. He's not the player he was. Now, whether that's because he doesn't care, whether it's because he's lost form, or whether it's just he's going downhill, that he will never return to that player. But he needs replaced. Yeah. We can argue, as I say, and I'm sure we're going to come on to Arteta, we can argue Arteta's choices and Arteta's tactics and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when he is presented with an opportunity in front of goal, he's not putting the ball in the back of the net. And that's what he's being paid $300,000 a week to do. There's no excuses.
Yeah.
Only he can fix that. Yeah. Arteta can't come and pull the goalkeeper out of the way and empty the net for him. He has to put the ball in the back of the net himself. So,
Yeah, for me, with regards to these four players, I'm going to be brief, to be honest. Eddie, I have no idea why he's on the pitch. He doesn't want to be at the club, and like you said, Stephen, I respect his decision that he doesn't want to play for Arsenal anymore. He wants game time. So why we're calling upon him, I have really no idea. Personally, I want him gone in January. I don't even want to. I don't. Obviously, if he goes for free in the summer, he goes for free in the summer. But if we can ship him out at a cut price in January, I'd rather do that. Free up some space in the squad to get a striker in. He's just not good enough to play for Arsenal, in my opinion. Lacazette, I get what you're saying about him trying, Stephen, and I can't argue with that. He does try, and again, what you said with regard to him not being the player that we bought, that's for sure. He's not the answer. We know that to a misfiring Aubameyang, and he never will be the answer. And his future lies elsewhere. So for me, if he doesn't go in January, he'll be gone in the summer as well. So that's two players, really and truly, their future doesn't actually lie at Arsenal. And I think maybe that's a bit of the problem that we've got. We've got players that probably are kind of eyeing up their next club, their next move. Pepe is very similar to the Partey situation in that, I was really behind the signing. I can't fault really and truly the recruitment team. I can't sit here and be a hypocrite and saying, yeah, we spent this amount of money on this player. We got it wrong. What are we doing? They don't know what they're doing, because I would have signed him. Now, I know I'm not a scout expert or don't have the information they have, etc. But from what I saw of Pepe, I thought he'd absolutely be a perfect match for us. And it's just not worked out for whatever reason. And I don't think you can necessarily blame Arteta. I think Pepe's had chances in the Arsenal team. And at this point, I'm not quite there yet. But in all honesty, I wouldn't lose any sleep if we sold him in January or the summer, which is really sad, because I've wanted nothing more than his transfer to work out and for him to just be banging in goal after goal for Arsenal. But it just doesn't look like it's going to happen. And Aubameyang, yeah, I totally agree with you guys. He's not firing. I don't know whether it's a lack of form. I don't know whether it's a lack of confidence, a lost appetite for the game, what Lottie says with regards sitting on a paycheck, or whether it's a decline, given the fact that he's turning 33. And to be honest, I don't really care what it is that's causing him to not score goals. He just needs to either start scoring goals, or we need to just replace him ASAP. We can sit here and try and, figure it out, but really and truly, we shouldn't have to. Like you said, Stephen, he's not doing what he's paid to do. He's the highest paid player at Arsenal, and he's missing sitter after sitter. We're not even talking about difficult chances, and we can't even argue and say, okay, like you said, we can argue, we can sit here and say the system doesn't suit him. We can sit here and say, he's not getting chances, but the chances he is getting, he's squandering them. He's putting them wide. He's fluffing them. He's putting them straight into the keeper's hand. So he's not doing his job, and that's why he's not doing a job that he's supposed to do. It's the same job why we were so desperate for him to sign that contract, because pre-signing that contract he was doing it. And let's be fair, let's move aside COVID. Let's forget his mum was poorly last season. He has not been the same player since he signed that contract. He really, really hasn't, regardless of the off-the-pitch situation. So, yeah, to be honest, that's why I asked the question to Lottie earlier in the show. I wouldn't lose any sleep, to be honest, if we sold all four of those players, or let all four of those players go between now and next summer, because we desperately, desperately need players on the pitch that can score goals. And right now, between the four of them, it's just not happening. It's just not happening. So we'll go to some comments before we move on to the last topic of tonight's show, which is Mikael Arteta himself. Gary here saying, I feel a bit sorry for Pepe, but he's not helping his case when he's come on and obviously isn't showing Arteta anything in practice like Nketiah. Don't know what Nketiah is showing him in practice, to be honest. Chris here, only reason Eddie is still there is because he wanted stupid wages to go to Palace in the summer. I'm not even sure he's a championship level, as when he was on loan at Leeds, he couldn't get into the team. Ben, Partey had a good understanding with Lokonga before Liverpool. Not sure why that partnership got split just because of one game. I'm baffled myself, to be honest. Cal, Lacazette hasn't looked great apart from hold-up play and buying a good free kick. Not sure anyone will offer much for him. That's my thing with Lacazette, I have to be honest. Like, I do get he works hard, and at the end of the day, he is working harder than Aubameyang, but the problem is he's just not a goal threat. He really is not a goal threat. Keith, I drive them wherever they go. Just go, please. Come on, you guys. Gary, it never works. Arsenal extending a player to sell them. Never, never, never. Let them go. 100%. Kyle, Aubameyang I know can come back, but think he might be done with for us. Probably best for him to go. Gary, Aubameyang might be getting too old to make those run longs anymore. Yeah, it could be, and that's what I said. Like, there could be several reasons why he's in the form he's in, but honestly, I don't really care. Like, I just need this guy to put the ball in the net, and if he's not going to do that, we need to just get rid. Chris, Aubameyang seems to keep hitting the ball first time. Each of these chances, he's had time to take a touch and then shoot, rather than what he's doing, rushing the chances and misses. And I think that's a real sign of lack of confidence, though. He's not composed where in the positions he should be. Cal, we're looking at 6 at best, so makeshift loan needed. I even jokingly said Odegaard is our best 9 right now. He's not one on paper. I actually remember when you said that. Gary, Stephen, I'm with you. I want most of the front line to go. Also, Uber's lawyer visited my PayPal account. Right. Now, for the finale, and it's going to be so interesting to see what you guys or how your opinions may have changed, may have stayed the same, off the back of obviously what's gone on, how the season's gone so far. Obviously, we're going to try and be, we're going to try and give our opinion with as much common sense, as much rationale as possible. But yes, Mikael Arteta, the man of the moment. What are your thoughts on this guy? I'm going to come to you first, Lottie, because I think Stephen's going to let rip.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I'm gonna have my say. Not sure if we've got enough hours in the day, but yeah, I'm gonna have my say.
Please don't keep me here all night, though, please. I know Stephen's got the problem. Don't keep me here all night, and it's your go. Yeah.
What now? What now for Arteta? What now for Arsenal's Arteta? Is this process working? How far along are we in the process? What's he doing? Is he the man for the job? All these questions I have, please answer them, Lottie.
I don't know how to answer them. That's the problem. I really don't. I'm not.
Just give me your thoughts. Just give me your thoughts. Let me talk. What's your gut feeling? What's your gut feeling about Arteta?
I'm not Arteta in. I'm not Arteta out. I'm just sick of the solid. Like, we've lost 2 games since the first 3 that didn't count, and it's complete and utter meltdown. And it's just, I've had to walk away from Twitter. I don't know when I'm going back on there. Albeit I tweeted our live show. I don't know when I'm going back. I've had enough. I can't cope with it. It was well, I knew it was coming because we'd lost. I know it was coming, but I didn't expect it to be as bad as it has been. So it's just, some people who thrive off the toxicity were waiting for this, and it's just got too much, so to speak. But I don't know now that 34 is back, I can see another December like last year, and I really don't want to see that. I really don't. I mean, I don't think I can wait till Boxing Day for another win. It would kill me. Albeit I'll be watching the Arsenal ladies, which will make me feel a bit better about my club, but I don't know. I just hope he doesn't go into that pattern he did last year, and otherwise it's just going to be very, very horrible, and I won't be going back on Twitter anytime soon. Because once he loses, all of a sudden every Tom, Dick, and Harry is a professional, is a manager when they've only played a video game.
Well, right now we're hitting that period, aren't we? Most people call it the crunch time in terms of a season. That kind of the festive period. Lots of games, quick succession, etc. So we got some favourable. Well, I say favourable fixtures on paper. He could turn this around pretty quickly if we do find some form. But Stephen, I'll come to you. What now for Arteta? What do you make of the process? How far are we in the process? Is he the man for the job? Talk to me.
So I'm going to start off with Lottie. Some people are very good at that game. If you're referring to Football Manager, I've done very, very well in that game in the past.
Me too.
Manager.
Yeah.
I've lost many hours of my
Sorry,
life.
guys, I'm a FIFA street girl. I haven't played video games in ages, so.
Well, you see, FIFA, I don't get into the whole FIFA thing. And unfortunately, we live in a culture now where too many people, and I said this before, where I actually heard someone during the summer when we signed Sambi comment on Sambi because he wasn't highly rated on FIFA. So, yeah. Anyway, Arteta, where do we start?
Where do we start?
Monday night, this is why we don't do shows immediately after games, because it's so easy, like anybody, to be reactionary. Monday night, I'm done. He's got to go. I've had enough. I'm just fed up with it. I'm done. And as I've calmed down, it's not that I'm backing him, but I'm going back to my original stance, which was I want us to be in the top 4 by the end of the year. And looking at the fixtures coming up, arguably we shouldn't drop a point the rest of this year. That's my opinion. We shouldn't. We will, but we shouldn't. People have said, he needed time. He needed a pre-season. He got a pre-season. It was, albeit not the pre-season he maybe would have wanted, because, players were out at the Euros and stuff like that, so he didn't get a full proper pre-season. He needed the players in at the start of the pre-season. We got 6 players, but again, we didn't get Tomiyasu until the last day of the window. Players were coming in dribs and drabs, so he didn't have a proper pre-season to work with them. But he got players he wanted. He got rid of some of the players he wanted out. So it is essentially, it's a lot of his squad. Now, he has admitted that there's still changes needed, so we know he's not happy with his squad. We know there's still changes to be made. But then he does things like picking 34 when none of us can figure out why. Why he made that change the other night. He does this thing where he overcomplicates his team selections. And I said this, making 4 or 5 changes at once. It's okay, maybe one change in a game, but you need to have a settled team. You will only win with a settled team. You're not going to win consistently by chopping and changing your players. But how do they learn to play together if they're constantly chopping and changing? So he doesn't help himself in that sense. The players themselves then, yes, his football is very prescriptive in that, he wants it played a certain way. But still, a lot of the players aren't capable of playing that way. I've said before that, he has a few variations on a pattern of play that he can do with each formation. But the problem is, as soon as the opposition work goes out, he has to change the formation again. So it seems quite limited in whether it's his coaching is limited or whether he feels the player's ability is limited. I don't know. But at the same time, then, Arteta can't physically go onto the pitch and put the ball in the back of the net. That's up to the strikers. But then he's responsible for the players that he puts on the pitch. But we don't have a single striker at the club who seems to be capable of putting the ball in the back of the net. So what are we going to do? Just not play a striker? And we've seen when we don't play a striker, we play a false number 9 against Villarreal. What happened there? So there's so many things that you can put on him, but there's also a lot you can put on the players. And I said I want to see progression. I do think we've seen some progression. It's not wonderful, but we are seeing some progression. For me, it's not even about the loss to United and the loss to Everton. It's the manner of the defeat. It's the manner of the play. Mm-hmm. And there's something wrong there that these players aren't fired up and aren't passionate. And whether that's coming from Aubameyang, maybe now being not quite the influence he maybe was in the changing room. Maybe players like that need to go. There's definitely unsettled players there. When Nketiah is unsettled, Lacazette, whilst I've said, he seems more professional and I'm okay with the fact that he wants to go on a free and stuff, he still potentially could be, unsettled because he's not playing week in, week out. Pepe, I'm sure at this point, is getting unsettled. So, and even for the saying of, I don't think holding would be a problem, but I think, what's going on with Mari? Has anybody seen or heard of Pablo Mari? Since the start of the season, is he unsettled? And this is the problem with trying to play a settled team, is it unsettles the players who aren't getting in. And then, as I say, you do have players that are in the team that are still unsettled and in the squad that are unsettled. Is Ainsley Maitland-Niles happy? He said he wanted to stay. And then, he's not getting game time. So is he starting to have rumblings behind the scenes? You just don't know what's going on. So it's hard to kind of say, yes, 100% it's all on Arteta. And I think, I've said before, you can get a new manager in, you get new manager bounce. But with certain players, it's just going to go back to the same thing. I sent you that picture of the sort of joking picture of number 34 dressed as the Grim Reaper. And there's a door with Wenger's picture on it. The next one has Emery's picture on it. And the next one has Arteta's picture on it. He's going to be the death of all those managers. And he potentially will be. If Arteta keeps picking him. So, until we get rid of players like that. So, are we going to go forward under Arteta? I don't know, is the honest truth. I've said all along that I wanted to see the progression. I wanted us to be in and around the top 4 come the end of the year. If we are, then in January, we need 3 to 4 new players in January. It's an absolute must. We can't have one loan signing coming in. It's not enough. We need 3 to 4 players being brought in January. We need a central midfielder to play alongside Partey to bring the best out in him. We need someone like Bruno Guimaraes. We need a left winger. So potentially you've got your boy, the Swedish boy at Juventus. That could be happening. And we need a centre forward who can put the ball in the back of the net. And arguably, we need maybe one more in there as well for something different in midfield. Whether that's someone like, we've mentioned it before and everybody knows I'm a massive fan of War. Maybe it's someone like him finally. But, we need 3 to 4 players minimum come January. And then if that's the case, and we don't finish in European places, at the end of the season, Arteta has to go. But for now, I'm still going to give him the opportunity to be in there. And if we don't drop points between now and the new year, we will be in the top 4. And those games we have to play, arguably, obviously, West Ham is the toughest game we have. There's no reason why we can't win all of our games between now and the end of the year. So, it's getting harder and harder to defend Arteta. It really is. But right now, I'm still prepared to the end of the year to see, are we there or thereabouts? And if we are, what happens in January?
Okay. Yeah, boy, I don't know. Arteta, right now with Arteta, for me, I have to be completely honest. You know, at this point in time, I don't believe he's the right man for the job. I don't believe that. When the season started, I said we need to finish. We need to finish in the top six. And when I said the top six, I don't mean I didn't even really mean the top four, because I had United as title contenders. I thought it would be Chelsea, Liverpool, City, United after what United did last season, obviously who they bought. I thought that would be the top four. And I thought fifth and sixth is where we would be competing. And after two back-to-back eighth league positions, I think in order for us to say there's been progression, we have to finish above eighth. For me, seventh is not quite cutting it, so we need to finish fifth or sixth. Now, obviously, the season started, and form of the teams: West Ham, Tottenham, Arsenal, Spurs, United, whatever. It's been all over the place. All of a sudden, top four doesn't seem a million miles away. So that's kind of somewhat changed my perspective. At the same time, for me, I still will say I have to give him to the end of the season, because it's a long season. There's 38 games. And for me, if he can finish fourth, fifth or sixth at the end of the season, I would be willing to stick with him until next season. We get back into Europe. We can attract hopefully better players. And then obviously next season is a whole new season. We approach it with optimism, etc. However, in terms of what I've seen this season, in terms of performances from this Arsenal side, I'm just not convinced he's the man for the job. I'm not going to hashtag Arteta out. I'm not going to, abuse the guy after every single bad performance, hound him out the club, and do all of that. Because, to be honest, it doesn't make any sense. All I'm going to do is just have untold Twitter arguments. And to be honest, I can't be asked with that. But I don't believe it's gonna happen. So as much as I have expectations that I want him to finish in the top six, fourth, fifth or sixth, I honestly don't believe we're going to do it, because I can't see the consistency. I can't see the consistency in the performances. Like, we literally go from just getting absolutely battered to being played off the park, to putting in the odd really good performance, and then against United and Everton, just completely just abysmal football, dire football, boring football. And I understand everything that goes into it. The squad is not good enough. We do need better players, and the fact that key players for us are not performing. He can't control Partey's form. He can't put the ball in the net for Aubameyang. He can't make Pepe play consistent. But at the same time, it's like it comes to a point where, for me, the manager has to be responsible for getting the best out of the players that we've got. And I'm just not convinced of it. Even earlier on in the season, when we got beat, in the first three games, that was horrible to watch. And I know even when results were going our way in the 10 games where we went unbeaten, I was on here, sometimes, bickering with Lottie about the performances against Brighton and so forth. Because I've not been convinced all season. I've not been convinced. I've kind of decided to just say, look, I'm going to give the guy to the end of the season, because it doesn't make sense being Arteta out and tweeting it every other day and just because it's just nonsense. Because at the end of the day, until the club actually make a decision on his future, he's going to be at the club. So I might as well just try and support the guy and hope that he can turn things around. But in terms of what I've seen, I'm not convinced. And I honestly don't believe that things are going to improve between now and the end of the year. And I don't think things are going to improve massively between now and the end of the season. And I feel like, something to just touch upon what you said, I feel like as Arsenal fans, I feel like we've given this guy enough time. We were tough on Emery. we were really, really tough on Emery. And I feel like with Arteta, I don't know whether it's because he played for Arsenal. I don't know whether it's because we hope, you know, he is going to be the next Pep, or whether it's just because he's got good hair. I don't know what it is, but we seem to just keep on moving the goalposts. You know, it seems like at first it wasn't his squad. Then it was he needs a preseason. Then it was he needs his own players. Then it was he needs to be in the top 4 by Christmas. It just seems like we just, you know, we're always kind of moving the goalposts, and it's like every single time he fails to kind of meet expectations, we're saying, oh, but this, oh, but that. And I honestly believe, like, even for the most hardened Arteta supporters, they're gonna run out of excuses very, very shortly. Because I think him finishing outside the top 6 or 7 this season, he has to go. There literally is no excuse. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not well, technically I am Arteta out. I'm just not gonna sing it from the rooftops, because I don't think it makes a blind bit of difference what I think really and truly. So yeah, do I think we should replace him with somebody else? Yes. Will I support him until we eventually do replace him? Yes. But will he finish in the top 6? Nah. And if he doesn't, for me, he has to go at the end of the season. And that's generally my take on Arteta at the moment. I'm not very optimistic at all.
Okay, so just to pick up on a couple of points there. I mean, I get what you're saying about the Arteta in people moving the goalposts.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, the Arteta out people have also been moving their goalposts. So what they are saying, you know, has changed. You know, we're conceding too many goals. He fixes the defense.
Yeah.
You know, our midfield isn't good enough. He buys new midfielders. We're not playing. He's not giving youth a chance. ESR, Saka, Martinelli playing. We have the youngest squad in the Premier League.
Mm.
You know, but yeah, he's not giving youth a chance. So they're constantly moving their goalposts too.
Mm. But the football's crap, though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that it's very, yeah, it's very easy for you know, people who are one way can move their goalposts to suit their agenda.
Yeah,
but the people who are the other way are also moving their goalposts to suit their agenda.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
In terms of the, you know, you're saying should he be replaced, and you're saying yes. My issue is now, and it has been the same for a long time, and I've said this to you. We've had this conversation on this show. We have asked people who watch this show, tell me who is available right now who can come in and do something different with these players.
Yeah, but the problem is, and the reason why, for me, that's kind of, I'm kind of getting to the point where I hear what you're saying, I do, but I just feel as though that's the fault of Arsenal Football Club, because it's, at the end of the day, if you sack Arteta and you want to go out and get a world-class manager, you make them available. Like, you pay the money, you convince the club, you do whatever you do to get a manager in. That's what you do at the end of the day. Like, who when we signed the Aubameyang, was the Aubameyang available at Dortmund? Was part, you know, it's like, if you want to get a manager, you've got to act and you've got to just sign a manager. It's like, it's almost like as Arsenal fans, we've reverted into this. We can't attract a good manager. We can't attract a world-class manager. So because none of the managers would come to us, or none of them are available, we'll just stick with Arteta. But I'm not even saying, like, it's the thing with, at the end of the day, if Arteta's not doing the job that he's supposed to do, in terms of, or if we're not happy with the job he's doing, so we just allow him to just continue doing the job then.
No, I get what you're saying, but my point is, for a world-class manager, how many world-class managers are there that aren't in world-class jobs that we could go out and attract? You know, people are crying out for Ten Hag at Ajax, but why is he going to leave Ajax when he's top in his Champions League group? You know, has potential to go on and do really well in that tournament this season, to come and battle to get a Europa League spot with Arsenal. He's not. Yes, maybe at the end of the season when he's gone through that run. And this is what I've said before. It's right now who's going to leave. Top managers at top clubs are not leaving halfway through the season when they're in elite competition.
But then when you look at it, like Tottenham have gone and got Conte, regardless of what your opinion is of Conte, whether he would have been a good signing for Arsenal or not, they sacked their manager after 17 games and they went and got arguably one of the best world-class managers in the world. Regardless of what your individual opinion of him is, many people class him as top 5 managers in the world. So it's like, I just feel like if it's not working, we need to change things. And there are managers out there, that we could give the opportunity to. They might not necessarily be world-class, but we could give an opportunity to them where they could come in, maybe do something different, etc. I understand it, but for me, I just think it goes back to the whole thing where I personally feel like Arsenal, it comes down to the ownership, etc., etc. Because I personally just feel like Arsenal, really and truly, we've just become a laughing stock of football. Because when I actually think about it, we've hired Arteta on the basis of not managing a single Premier League game. Like we hired an absolute novice, and we, as Arsenal fans, we just accepted it. And I feel like because of the years and years and years of lack of success, I honestly do feel as Arsenal fans, we are almost becoming desensitized and kind of enabling things at Arsenal to just kind of carry on. So it's like, because we can't think of a manager that's out there that couldn't necessarily do a better job than Arteta, it's like let's just accept that, we're crap. We can't attract a manager, so we're just going to stick with Arteta. Like, it's for me, it just comes from the top. And I think, like, if Arsenal, the Arsenal owners and Arsenal Football Club was serious about Arsenal, Arteta wouldn't be in a job. He wouldn't even have been in the job in the first place. And if they wanted to go out and get a world-class manager or a manager with, arguably world-class potential, they can. They can, because let's face it, we all know it's all about money, regardless of whether or not these managers have aspirations, etc. It comes down to money. If you're going to cough up the money to pay for a manager that you want, he's going to leave. He's going to leave regardless. Doesn't even matter what time of the season it is. And if he's not going to leave mid-season, then you need to be having conversations to get that manager in place for the beginning of next season. My concern is that I don't even think Arsenal are even thinking about, in the whatever boardroom they're sitting in, Josh and Stan Kroenke, I don't even think they're even having a conversation about Arteta's future. I think they're just happy and content that he's going to come in. He's a young manager. They're going to give him time, and we're just gonna continue to just wallow in what is, sorry, but just, I don't know, man. I honestly don't know what the answer is, but I'm telling you right now, if I was owner of Arsenal Football Club, he would not be in a job. And I would do everything I can to get a world-class manager. And you know what? If I got Zidane in and it didn't work, I'll sack him too, and I'll get somebody else in. Like, because ultimately, we criticize Chelsea, we criticize, teams like Chelsea, oil money, etc., etc. But they've sacked however many managers, but look how successful they are. Yeah, they're spending money on top of that. But I don't think we can sit here and actually just accept the fact that, we can't attract a world-class manager, so we're just going to put up with Arteta. Like, we're like We're like one of the biggest teams in English football. And we're just going to sit here and just say, okay, yeah, like no one can come in and do a better job. How do we know until we try it? I don't know.
I just don't think we will get a world-class manager at this time of year. I know who I want. I never wanted Arteta, and I've quite openly admitted that. I never wanted Arteta. I didn't think Arteta was right for it at the time.
Yeah.
I know who I want now,
Who's
but
that?
we'll not get them. We'll not get them until after the World Cup. So,
Please don't say Southgate.
what's that?
Please don't say Southgate.
No, not
He's
so.
just extended his contract due till 2024,
Oh God.
5, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, your argument about Conte wouldn't have improved this squad. He wouldn't have done anything more with it because none of those players would suit his style of play.
Yeah,
He would have had to have.
Now, how do you know that
windows.
unless he's actually managing the side? You don't know that.
Because you can see every club he goes into, he plays the same way.
But so we just keep Arteta then.
No, this is the point. We've got to get the manager that suits the club.
I don't know. I think a manager comes in and okay, so what manager suits Arsenal then?
For me,
yeah,
the person I want, who I think will suit Arsenal, will give us the style of play we want, and will win. Enrique.
Why Enrique?
Because I think you look at his Barcelona team. His Barcelona team were better than Pep's. They played more attractive football than Pep's, and they won. Look at what he's doing with Spain again. Luis Enrique is a world-class manager. And I think he would be the manager to take us forward.
Yeah, I think he's a world-class manager. But for me, I don't see it as being, a one candidate thing. I think there are managers out there that could come to Arsenal and do better than what Arteta's doing. That's just my opinion. I don't think it's Luis Enrique or nobody because Luis Enrique suits the club. I think a good manager comes in, he just kind of makes the job his own.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that's my choice. That's who I would pick. So, I mean, who would you pick? Who would you pick, Polly?
To be honest, right now, anyone, mate.
I have no clue. I don't have an answer for that one, I'm afraid.
To be honest, anyone, man. And I think this comment here is perfect. And I think this is the attitude we had years ago. This is Arsenal FC. We go and get the manager we want. And I just feel like we are. I feel like it's almost like we've just accepted that we're just this mid-table dead team, and none of these managers are going to be tempted by Arsenal Football Club. And it's like, I just don't know, man. I don't know, man. I really don't know. But I think we could chat about the whole Arteta situation all night. I know I'm flagging. I know Lottie, you're flagging slightly. Yeah, we could be here all night. But just kind of sum it up. Lottie, obviously between now and obviously the end of the season, what are you expecting from Arteta between now and the end of the season?
Well, we should be getting 6. I said this for our season prediction. 6 minimum.
Yeah.
Okay,
and if he doesn't make top 6, for you, he's gone.
I don't like this argument. This is why I've been very, very quiet. And I don't like this argument. That's why you're laughing. Yeah, no, he's gonna have to go. Don't ask me who's gonna come in. I ain't got Scooby. Honestly, I don't.
Stephen, obviously you said we should be hitting top 4 by Christmas. Obviously, if we don't, let's give him to the end of the season. By the end of the season, is there a minimum requirement for you that Arteta needs to achieve?
Yeah, I've said all along that he has to finish top 6.
Yeah,
has to.
Yeah, boy, I don't know. For me, as you can see, as you can tell, I don't sing it from the rooftops because I don't want to have countless arguments on Twitter with people. And to be honest, it is what it is. But for me personally, I honestly feel like it's not going to go well between now and the end of the season. And I can honestly see we're not going to finish in the top 6. I'd be absolutely gobsmacked if we do. I want us to. I really hope. And if we do, I want him to stay on and I want him to manage us next season. But I honestly just can't see it. It's just not for me. And I would replace him as soon as possible if it was entirely up to me. But Good job. I'm not I'm not in charge of Arsenal then. But yeah, I'm just going to breeze through some of these comments, and then we'll wrap things up. Stephen, so we wait for 1 to 2 years. I don't like that idea. I feel Potter could do it better with this squad, and then get Mancini when he's done with the World Cup. The Mr. Arsenal podcast. Good evening. Give me the job. Even I'm better than Mikael. Mike, good evening, Mike. I know you've been in the chat a few comments before. We need a manager of experience and someone who knows the Premier League. Mike, again, we need European football again at a minimum. And Keith, I want Arsenal back. He would have to go. Yeah, it's a tough one, and it's going to be one of those conversations that is just going to continually split opinion between Arsenal fans. But at the end of the day, you know, like we always say, no opinions. It doesn't matter, you know, whatever your opinion is, no one's right, no one's wrong. You just got to respect each other's opinion. You know what I mean? Me and Stephen are like brothers. We share slightly different opinion when it comes to Arteta, and it is what it is. You know, we share our opinions and we keep it moving. It's just how it is. Is there anything we need to kind of wrap up before we wrap up the show? Anything we need to go through? In terms of next show, what about Jonas? He's doing a great job in his first season.
Mm-hmm. Top of the league.
We'll see. Gary says, Stephen said I'm wrong. Yeah, I saw him shake his head. He wasn't best pleased with that comment. But yeah, in terms of this show, obviously it's been a long show, 2 hours now. And we always knew it was going to be a long show, obviously because of all of the stuff to discuss. We are back on Friday, where we will be previewing the Arsenal versus Southampton game. Hopefully we can get some points. I think it will be at 9 p.m. on Friday, but obviously watch out for our tweets. In terms of socials, we're going to run through them very, very quickly. Yeah.
Fantasy football deadline is 6:30 on Friday for everybody that's playing fantasy football. 6:30 on Friday.
6:30 on Friday. Whatever changes you want to make them.
Just before you do that, one more quick talking point. I don't know if you've seen Spurs game tomorrow night has been postponed.
Oh, is it?
Off the back of them having some positive COVID cases. And apparently their game at the weekend is under consideration now by the Premier League.
It's so jammy, you know.
Do you know what? If their game gets called off or postponed because of players having COVID,
just what I'm
then
saying.
I think as Arsenal fans, we should petition the Premier League to have our game against Brentford replayed.
Like, seriously.
And our
Gabriel,
game against
Ben White, Aubameyang, Lacazette. Yeah. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. It can't be one rule. You know, they were told at the start of the season games would not be postponed for players having COVID. It would be treated like they were injuries. It doesn't matter how many of their players have COVID. They have a squad. They have enough players in their squad to put out a team. That game should not be postponed. And if it is, again, it's another farce on the Premier League. It really is an absolute farce if they get that game postponed.
Mad. Mike just saying here, yeah, they got 13 cases.
It's not 13 players, though. It's something like 8 players.
And 5 are staff or something like that.
No, it's 8 senior team as well.
5 COVID case, game on, 8 COVID case postponed. Yeah.
But honestly, I will start a petition to have Arsenal's game against Brentford replayed on that basis if they get that game postponed. Because they've already had another game postponed because of it.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. Yeah,
it's blatant favoritism towards certain teams.
Yeah, no, it is. It is definitely. Last comment here. We could get it brought up in the House of Commons with 10k signatures. I tell you, we should. But to be honest, House of Commons right now, not my favorite topic. given their shenanigans last Christmas when we were all on lockdown. Chris, I'm guessing Spurs don't have a reserve team to bring in players to play games. No, they don't. Oh, no, it's ridiculous.
Even that game tomorrow night, they're playing a European game, and as I said in the show the other week, we used to play Champions League games with our reserve and under 23 players. And they can't even play Europa Conference League games with their first team.
It's crazy. It's crazy, man. But yeah, we're gonna breeze through the socials right now. Stephen, do the honors.
All right. So thank you for everybody who's watched. If you're watching live and you've been with us, thank you so much. We really appreciate the support. If you're watching later on, again, thank you for taking the time to watch our shows. We really, really appreciate it. If you're not following us on all the social platforms, please do. We obviously have our Facebook account, which is Canon Chatter. We have Instagram, which is Canon_Chatter. And we have TikTok, although we're not massively active on it, I don't think, which is at Canon_Chatter. We will start to, when things are settled down a little, start to get more active on some of these platforms. We've just, all of us have a massive amount of things going on at the minute, as well as obviously trying to put out content. We have our Twitter. Obviously, our main account is at Canon Chatter. There's my own account, which is at SB Canon Chatter, which, to be honest, at the minute, again, it's just mostly me retweeting the main Canon Chatter account. I will, hopefully in the new year, start to be a wee bit more active on that myself. If you want to follow G, it's at GTalksArsenal. And if you want to follow Lottie, it's at Lottie_B with 2 T's and 2 I's, because somebody beat her to it.
Yeah.
If you want to read any of Lottie's wonderful blogs, they are all available at lottieafc.blogspot.co.uk. Any updates on that, Lottie, in terms of any more pieces coming? No? Okay.
Yep, I've got a few days.
If anybody does want to purchase any Canon Chatter t-shirts or hoodies, give me an email on info@canonchatter.com or DM me at SBCanonChatter on Twitter, or alternatively just DM any of the guys and I'll tell you what you need to do, and all the information and prices and stuff are in the description of the video below. And obviously make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and hit the like button. And we'd really appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Absolute natural at that. But yeah, last couple of comments before we wrap up. Mike saying, yeah, but they lost to somebody with their first team to remember. Yep, they did. I can't remember the name of the team anymore. Chris, they played the kids. Yeah, that's it. That's it. They played the kids in the Euro Cup anyway, so why are they worrying? Kyle, thanks, guys. See you next time. Definitely thank you for tuning in. Got my Sunderland ticket sorted, Lottie. Hopefully everything all sorts itself out before then, because I'm going away for a few days later. So if it goes this way, it'll be in touch and go if I can. And that's it, really, with regards to tonight's show. It's been a long one. It was always going to be a long one because there was literally so much to talk about. And I think me and Stephen definitely could probably have gone a couple more rounds. But yeah.
I was settling in for a 6-hour show.
But yeah, any last words, Lottie, before we go?
Not from me, not tonight.
Yeah, you've had enough. You've had enough of Arteta talk. Stephen, any last words?
Do you know what? Christmas is coming. It's only 2.5 weeks. Let's stay positive. Enjoy the rest of the festive period. Let's not let Arsenal bring us down.
Definitely. Definitely.
Things are going to turn around. We're going to beat Southampton at the weekend. And it's going to be all positive again and all rosy at the Emirates before the snow comes.
And tomorrow night.
And tomorrow night, Barcelona for the ladies.
Definitely.
My Katie's going to get a couple of goals.
Of the night. I'm not going to go to the comments again. So Mike has the last say in terms of the chat room. Need a win on Saturday massively and a performance to match. And yeah, to be honest, I massively agree with that. And that's it. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, keep chatting.